right. Where'd my city clerk go? City attorney. There he is. All right, we'll get started, commissioners. Good? All right. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to our City Commission meeting. We will get started tonight with a moment of silence before we move to the Pledge of Allegiance and roll call. And just for those who haven't been to one of our commission meetings before, just a couple things to be aware of. We have two opportunities for public comment tonight. The very first one is public comment on agenda items. So earlier today, the City Commission, we had a number of standing committee meetings where we voted on items. So we had a full agenda. If you're here to speak on any of those very specific agenda items, I'll open up public comment for that at the beginning of the meeting. And then if you're here to speak on any other issue, you can speak at the end of the meeting during our general open public comment. We do not have any scheduled public hearings tonight. And then we do have, and I'll remind you of these, we do have some expectations for this space in order to make sure that everyone feels safe speaking up. And so I'll remind you of those, but we also have them listed on the board. So with that, if you would join me for a moment of silence. Thank you. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, next we'll have roll call.
Commissioner Moody,
Present.
Commissioner O'Connor,
Present.
Commissioner Isasi,
Present.
Commissioner Repart, Commissioner Lanier, Mayor Bliss.
Yes, and commissioners, can I get a motion to excuse Commissioner Jones?
The most.
Support.
All right, moved and supported. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? It carries. All right, next that will take us to our first opportunity for public comment. And as I said, this is public comment really specific to items that we're voting on tonight that's on our agenda. So for public comment, we ask you to do a few things, that you come to the podium, that you share your name, the city that you live in. You'll be given up to 3 minutes to speak. You can see the timer right in front of me here. We also ask that you ensure that you are respectful in your remarks, and so we ask that you not use profanity, vulgar language, name calling, or making derogatory comments. And again, your comments should be directed to this elected body and not to anyone in the audience. You're here to speak to us, and so we want to be careful that we're not criticizing other people who may not think like us. And so with that,
Madam Mayor.
Oh,
gonna say the same
I am
thing.
sorry. And that's what before I get to that, sorry, City Clerk, before I get to the public comment on agenda items, I'm going to ask our translator to come up. So if you need assistance with translation services, we do have someone present. And maybe you can also add just some of those rules about that we have two public comment periods tonight, one on agenda items and then the other one at the end. So come on up. Sorry about that.
Hi, so my name's Annabelle, and I will
Yes.
Should be on.
be interpreting from English to Spanish
Thank you.
if needed.
I'll be actually.
Thank you, Lucas.
Should I start again?
Go ahead, please.
Again, my name's Annabelle. So I'll be here interpreting from Spanish to English, and I'll actually be sitting in the back if I am needed, and then I can step up over here. And we also have our interpreters too, that would be providing services, simultaneous interpreting. So,
Great.
thank you.
Thank you.
Can you say it in Spanish?
Oh, can you say that in Spanish?
Mi nombre es Anabel. Si necesitan interpretar, voy a estar interpretando el día de hoy de inglés a español. Si necesitan mis servicios, estaré presente entre medio del público. Y cuando sí es que me necesitaran, estaría yo pasando adelante. Muchas gracias.
Thank you. Appreciate that. Sorry again. All right, so next that will take us to public comment, and this is on agenda items only. So for this one, we ask that you be explicit about what agenda item you're speaking to.
Lucas, First Ward. My remarks tonight are regarding your ordinances for sneaking more money into the pockets of our already overfunded GRPD. First, people need to understand that this stuff happens all the time. at the convenience of those in power via the murky process which leads to these rubber stamp votes. It is audacious at best that any one department should be guaranteed any minimum budget at all. Slipping the police an extra $1.6 million looks really shady, even if there are a few moderate concessions. Second, all this is taking place inside a collective bargaining agreement that's not transparent and has not been made available for public review. And if it has, I'll revert to my urging that you improve your lackluster communications apparatus. Lastly, consider how much this amount, this $1.6 million, being added to officer salaries when they certainly have not earned it based on performance or trust, could be directed toward more change-making initiatives. GRPD already enjoys above-average pay compared to cities many times our size. These funds could be used in better ways to address the issues of our community. Example, tonight you'll read into record a communication from Walking Conflict of Interest Josh Lunger, VP of the GR Chamber, who has helped with the Safe GR Dark Money Disinformation campaign. He promotes a laundry list of ideas for ordinances to punish the unhoused and provide loopholes for the rich and powerful to curb free speech at large. In typical corrupt fashion, the business is virtually writing the proposed laws for you. And they've teed up notions for GRPD to be able to attack even more people than they already do. Giving the military wing of a very Karen government more abuse options is never the right choice. Instead, you should be giving the additional $1.6 million to the people, but you won't. Not yet. You get to make the choices to make things better. Ponder that. It's on you and the incoming freshman representatives that will be seated with you next month. I did manage to get out of this with a little bit more time, so I do want to address your change to meeting times. I've heard from absolutely no one in the past 2 hours that would be actual working class citizens of Grand Rapids who think 2 p.m. is workable. I would love to see the overwhelming amount of data you claim to have that indicates that's the best time for that earlier meeting, because I think if you asked working people, you'd find that 2 p.m. still doesn't cut it. It only still cuts it for those of us that have flexibility and are more fortunate. So maybe keep that in mind. Maybe don't pass that one yet. The rest of my stuff's hard for you to wrap your head around. That one should be simple. Thank you.
All right, others wish to be heard? Others wish to be heard, and again, this is on agenda items.
My name's Carrie. I'm from the 2nd Ward. I'd like to speak on the Committee of the Whole, number 9, the resolution about the collective bargaining agreement. I'm a little confused as to why we are giving them 6% pay raise for this year, when this year alone, GRPD has murdered an unarmed man. They have been found guilty by the state Supreme Court of repeatedly violating the 4th Amendment in July, which this is backdated to for them. In July also, there was an announcement from the Michigan State Civil Rights that there are 2 active and 28 pending civil rights cases against GRPD. We currently have federal lawsuits also against GRPD. So please make it make sense to me why we would retroactively give them a 6% raise for this year when all of those things have happened this year. When they still have continued to harass, intimidate, and brutalize our BIPOC community on a regular basis. When they still have not shown any sense of transparency or accountability for any of their actions, and yet we're giving them more money. Again, every time you vote on more money for them, they don't make any improvements. I want to understand why we're giving them money when it only takes 594 hours of training to become a police officer, but it takes 1,500 hours to become a cosmetologist. Please make that make sense for me too, because we really need to require more of our police. We really need to require more transparency, more accountability, which part of this I am happy to see that it goes from 2 years to 4 years to keep violations on their record, but it should be far more than that. And there's just no trust in GRPD from your citizens. And there won't be until more and more is done. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, others wish to be heard? Again, this is on agenda items.
Mark from Grand Rapids. I want to talk about this collective bargaining agreement. I could care less about the funding. Here's what I want. There should be clauses in that collective bargaining agreement that allows more diversity in the force. In particular, more black individuals, more black candidates for the department. In particular, black females, which there are zero in the department. Next, I want precincts around the city. You want to solve real crime? Put precincts in. Cut down the timing. Because coming from Herbolsheimer's, going all the way down to the Kentwood City line, too much time. You got to cut that time in half. Furthermore, and for anybody who wants to, who's in the force, patrolling their sector, they should live in that sector where they patrol. No more come from out of town, come from the rural areas. No. You want to establish community relations with the department? That's how you do it. If not, there will be more chaos in the department. We don't want city money going out to the suburbs, period. And finally, if any candidate or if anybody who is in the department belongs to any hate group, supremacist group, or any other group, they got to go. We want accountability and responsibility in this force. Anything less is unacceptable. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, others wish to be heard?
How you doing? I want to speak about the Boston Square Neighborhood Hub. I'm in full support of this. I've been at every ARPA fund session ever since King County started to put their $127 million out there for the community to put ideas, proposals. I know that they were looking for historic investments and things that can transform the community. That is a historic neighborhood. They have historically been disenfranchised and had not got a lot of investments, so that was pretty cool to say. Also, I see that you guys are getting a grant to improve King Park and Richmond Park. I spent a lot of time with a lot of kids, hundreds of kids on the south side of GR running the Youth Summer Basketball League. I got a request. If you actually look on the far side where the logo is, where Albert Rice Jr., the CEO of the Urban Youth Summer Basketball League, that logo, he created that logo. I would like for you guys to revitalize that court and beautify that court if you guys utilize some of these funds to revitalize the park. Also, I don't know if you guys play basketball. I'm a basketball player. I just had a double-double in our last game. I'm very good at basketball. I just, if you look at the furthest rim, it's 10 feet, but it's a double rim. And then if you look at the rim when you're coming by the shed, it's like 11 feet. Y'all got two different rims on there, and it's not the same size. I swear, it's easy to dunk on one of them, and then it's harder to jump on the other one. I really got to jump, and I can jump pretty high. So I would like for you guys to go look at that basketball court and actually revitalize the basketball court so we have two actual 10-foot rims, and they're very beautiful. We should beautify that park. That's where majority of the crime is. So where we want to serve kids, I work in that park. I know the ins and outs of that park. I spend a lot of time at that park. Please beautify that park, revitalize the court, get some even rims so I can jump properly. I don't have to really use my ankles to really jump on an 11-foot rim, and then we got to double rims. Please get individual rims, because when my shot isn't draining because of these double rims, I get angry. I'm sure it's a lot of little angry kids out there in the hood that's used to the basketball courts and they got double rims. Have you ever shot on a double rim? It's not fun. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Thank you, Mr. Jones. All right, others wish to be heard, and again, this is on agenda items.
My name is Patricia Cizik. I live on the northwest side of Grand Rapids. And I just want to congratulate and thank you so much for JRPD. Thank you for their response to this last coincidence. My son is at that school. He's a teacher.
Patricia, can you share what agenda item you're
Oh, the
speaking
one
to?
on Hall and,
And
or
I know-
Jefferson and LaBelle.
Can you just share the agenda item that you're talking about?
Yes, I want more funding for our officers to
Oh,
be able
okay.
to take
Thank you.
care
Thank you.
of this, and I want to support our police. I thank them so much for keeping our school students safe. Our students, some of our students there witnessed this awful thing going on, seeing that man kill himself. And I'm tired of you're not standing and going against these lying, stupid media.
Okay.
I'm not saying a person won, but things have got to change. Our officers work hard to keep us safe, and I'm glad to hear that you approving my road so they can get down my street.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I appreciate them, I love them, and I'm so thankful my son is safe, and the students also. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Patricia. All right, others who wish to be heard, and again, this is on agenda items.
Hello, Russell Olmsted, West Side, Grand Rapids. This is on the agenda item on the Committee of the Whole. I believe it is item number 9, if I remember correctly, on the collective bargaining agreement. Mostly it's about, there are a lot of things in that I've seen in it that are, while good in giving better access to the Office of OPA in investigations that are happening. I think that's a great step forward for transparency and accountability. I also like that we were able to address some of the issues about keeping things on record for a longer period of time on officers who may be who have been found to be in violation of some of the tier 1, I believe it is, violations, because there's 3 separate tiers of complaints. I wish that would have been extended to all levels of complaints, because the lower tier complaints still are, I believe, off of their record within 1 year, or possibly 2. I could be wrong on that. If there's no other follow-up violation found in that time period, it's off their record. But I want to come back to something that I've brought up repeatedly here numerous times over the years, and that is opening up these collective bargaining processes to where we are, if not public, to where we actually have elected members in the room. If people are not aware of right now, the way that it works is that no member of our elected body of representatives are actually in the room and negotiating these processes. That doesn't bode well for representing community interests and the reason that people are elected in the first place, to be representatives of the community, especially when you're dealing with the biggest piece of the pie of what is being spent out of our tax dollars. So I don't find it to be very equitable in representation that way. So if we could find a way to open that up to, at the very least, have elected representatives in the room that could then be our eyes and ears there and represent our voices of what we would like to have happen, I think you would find better results. Finally, I just learned about this today, that there are going to be meetings at 2 p.m. apparently next year. I really plead with you to reconsider that. 7 p.m. for people who are working at night may be difficult, but for a vast majority of the people, it is going to be impossible for them to get to community meetings during the day. It's one of the biggest reasons why there's complaints against our county commission meetings because of their time period to where people can't get there. I think it's going to make it extremely difficult for people, and whether it is intended or not, it's going to come off as an appearance of trying to stay away from having some of the long sessions where community members are voicing their concerns that we have had over this past year. And again, intended or not, that is the way it's going to be seen. Please reconsider that. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, I'm going to close that opportunity for public comment, and that will take us to approval of minutes. We have 2 approval of minutes today. Commissioners, we have minutes from our special meeting that occurred on November 10th, as well as our city commission meeting, which is our regular session on November 15th. Can I get a motion?
So moved.
Support.
All right, moved and supported. Commissioners, any questions or comments? All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, it carries. All right, next that will take us to petitions and communications, and we have 4 items before us tonight.
The first one is a communication received from Paul Mayhew regarding the Patrick Leoya case.
That is received and filed.
Communications, 3 of them received opposing an increase to water and sewer rates.
Those are received and filed.
Communications from Kenneth Hoskins regarding the resignation from the Housing Appeals Board.
That is referred to our Committee on Appointments.
Communication received from Joshua Lunger, Vice President of Government Affairs, requesting action to improve health and safety in public places.
And that is also received and filed. All right, that will take us to reports of city officers.
Comptroller's report for the period of November 2, 2022 through November 22, 2022 in the amount of $41,125,698.90.
That's received and filed.
Treasurer's report for the period of November 5, 2022 through November 21, 2022.
That is also received and filed.
And city clerk submitted copies of the General Retirement System Annual Actuarial Valuation for the year ending June 30, 2022.
And that is received and filed. All right, Commissioners, next that will take us to consent agenda. So our consent agenda are items that we talked about earlier today and voted on them, where they were voted on unanimously. So tonight, with one voice vote, we'll adopt those items. Commissioners, can I get a motion?
So moved.
Support.
All right, moved and supported. Any questions or comments? All right, all those, yep, go ahead.
Mayor, I think we've gotten some public comment regarding the second item on the Committee of the Whole, and I just wanted to pull that for further discussion. I think earlier when we were talking about it, my question as an exiting commissioner was regarding the involvement of future commissioners, and I think it would be good to have that conversation this evening as well. And, and I think so the public can hear a little bit more about how the decision came to be and what already existed in the policies, et cetera. So if the city clerk, I think this was your agenda item, if you wanted to kind of recap some of that from earlier today and then mirror the comments that you were making too regarding the feedback that you've gotten, I think that would be appropriate.
Yeah. Do you want to pull it from consent, or do you want to talk about it right now?
We can talk about it right now and then we can have the vote.
Yeah, sure thing. So the questions were raised. We are changing our agenda schedule for next year. Years ago, we did used to have our meetings at 2 o'clock and 7. So tonight, or earlier today, we talked about that. We have actually heard comments from the public, especially this last year when we've had long meetings where individuals aren't able to stay until the end to hear, to give public comment, as well as individuals who work in the evenings or work third shift and they're not able to come to our evening meetings. We will also continue to have commission night out, as we talked about, Commissioner Lanier also asked about the incoming commissioners, and we have had a chance, I've had a chance to speak to them, and they too have received a copy of the proposed agenda for next year and the schedule, but they've also been given their appointments for next year, so that as we have 3 new commissioners around this table, they are well aware of the upcoming schedule. And then, City Clerk, anything you wanted to add?
Yeah, well, the only thing I wanted to add was what we have, as I said earlier today, when commission meetings used to be weekly, and then the charter was changed to have 2 meetings per month and gave, there was an adopting ordinance that allowed, that said at least one of the meetings per month had to be at 7 o'clock PM, because I think all those weekly meetings were all pretty much in the afternoon with a handful that were evening meetings. And so the commission at that time decided to go to evening meetings at 7 o'clock, but it does give an option in the ordinance, as it states now, to either do 2 o'clock or 7 o'clock.
Yeah. And as I said this morning, we'll evaluate it next year, and this is an annual schedule that we set, and we can always revert back as we evaluate it. I have heard from folks who I think will show up in the afternoon who aren't able to be here in the evening for a whole host of reasons, whether it's family commitments, other commitments, jobs.
Yeah, and if I can just add, I know we've had a number of our engagement opportunities where we have diversified the times and have held engagement during the day, and we actually, have looked at that and monitored how many people show up during the day. And so there is a contingency of people who may not work a 9 to 5, and so they do have the disadvantage of our evening meetings when, they aren't able to necessarily come and weigh in, because the difference between when we're meeting during the day is that the public comment period is in the evening. So this does provide a little bit of flexibility, and I think it's great that it isn't set in stone and that it can be adjusted if needed.
Yeah, and we have other public hearings during the day as well that are scheduled. You all are well aware of the agenda for Planning Commission or zoning, so it's not completely unusual, even currently.
Thank you.
All right. Commissioners, any additional questions or comments before I call the question? All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, it carries. All right, next that will take us to ordinances to be adopted. And Commissioners, we have a number of ordinances before us tonight.
The first one is an ordinance amending Section 4 of Ordinance 2022-38, new classifications, Fire Lieutenant - Homeless Outreach Team and Fire Captain Homeless Outreach Team.
All right, can I get a motion?
So moved.
Support.
All right, moved and supported. Commissioner Sassi, you want to tell us about this?
Thank you, Mayor. Yes, this is to outline the creation of the 2 homeless outreach or HOT team classifications that is intended to capture the work being done by the Grand Rapids Fire Department officers. That is different than typical fire suppression and other emergency work that we probably think of the fire department to do. These positions are both supervisors, but they have some different degrees of oversight. The fire captain of HOT is the fire leader of the HOT team and interacts daily with agencies and resolving some of those higher level issues. And the fire lieutenant of HOT is oriented towards sort of the daily interactions and problem solving. I'll also note that this was reviewed and approved by our civil service body on November 7th. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioners, any questions or comments? All right, this is a roll call vote tonight.
Commissioner Sassi.
Yes.
Commissioner Repart.
Yes.
Commissioner Lanier.
Aye.
Commissioner O'Connor.
Yes.
Commissioner Moody.
Yes.
Mayor Bliss.
Yes, it carries. Commissioners, can I get a motion to give this immediate effect?
So moved.
Support.
All right, moved and supported. Any additional questions or comments? All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? It carries. All right, that will take us to our second ordinance tonight.
It's ordinance amending Section 4.2 of Ordinance 2022-33, range change for utility financial officer.
All right, can I get a motion?
So moved.
Support.
All right, moved and supported. Commissioner Moody, you want to tell us about this?
Yes, ma'am, Madam Mayor. A classification study was completed, and an external comparison found the salaries below other government employers in the Midwest. Based on the external comparison, there were some improprieties existed. When comparing the duties and the qualifications in the ranges from 17 classifications, it was more consistent with the range of 18 classifications. Therefore, an increase in the salary range from 17 to 18 is being recommended at this time.
All right, thank you, Commissioner. Commissioners, any questions or comments? All right, all those in favor, this is roll call vote.
Commissioner Lanier.
Aye.
Commissioner O'Connor.
Yes.
Commissioner Moody.
Yes.
Commissioner Sassi.
Yes.
Commissioner Repart.
Yes.
Mayor Bliss.
Yes, it carries. Commissioners, can I get a motion to give this immediate effect?
So moved.
Support.
All right, moved and supported. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, it carries. All right, that'll take us to our third ordinance tonight.
Ordinance amending Section 3.2 of Ordinance 2022-40, range change fire chief.
So moved.
Support.
All right, moved and supported. Commissioner O'Connor, you want to tell us about this?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. This ordinance is an ordinance to adjust the range for our fire chief. As many of you may have seen, our fire chief has announced his retirement. I just want to say thank you to Chief Lehman for his service and leadership in our fire department. He's got big shoes to fill. And so recently we hired a new police chief in the last year. And so this ordinance would bring the classification to parity with the police chief. actually just in our fiscal committee, and then in our consent agenda, we just adopted a bid for a contract to start the fire chief recruiting process. And so I think this just allows us and aligns to be able to find the best qualified and next leader of our great fire department. So.
Yeah, thanks, Commissioner. This is a roll call vote tonight?
Commissioner O'Connor?
Yes.
Commissioner Moody?
Yes.
Commissioner Asasi?
Yes.
Commissioner Repart?
Yes.
Commissioner Lanier?
Aye.
Mayor Bliss?
Yes, it carries. And Commissioners, can I get a motion to give it immediate effect?
Moved.
All right, moved and supported. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? It carries. All right, that'll take us to our fourth ordinance.
That's a salary ordinance for the Grand Rapids Police Officers Association Officer and Sergeant Unit.
So moved.
Support.
All right, moved and supported. Commissioner O'Connor, you want to tell us about this one as well?
Yes, Madam Mayor. This is the salary ordinance for the Grand Rapids Police Officers Association unit. This will be the salary ordinance that allows for the implementation of the contract, which we just approved during our consent agenda, so that the increases match and the salary increases match what we adopted with the collective bargaining agreement.
All right, thank you. Commissioners, any questions or comments? All right, this is a roll call vote tonight.
Commissioner Moody?
Yes.
Commissioner Asasi?
Yes.
Commissioner Repart?
Yes.
Commissioner Lanier?
Aye.
Commissioner O'Connor?
Yes.
Mayor Bliss?
Yes, it carries. All right, that will take us to our fifth ordinance tonight.
That's an ordinance amending Section 1 of the Budget Ordinance 2022-13 for fiscal year 2023, Amendment Number 8.
So moved.
Support.
All right, moved and supported. Commissioner Repart, you want to tell us about this?
Yeah, thanks, Mayor. When we did our budget planning, we did our best to predict what the results of bargaining would be, but this is the gap between, the financial gap between what we're going to need to put forth in order to get the things that we were requesting of the department in their contract.
All
The
right.
total of it is $1.665 million, $197, which will come out of the general operating fund.
Great, thank you. Commissioners, any questions or comments? All right, there's a roll call vote tonight.
Commissioner Asasi?
Yes.
Commissioner Repart?
Yes.
Commissioner Lanier?
Aye.
Commissioner O'Connor?
Yes.
Commissioner Moody?
Yes.
Mayor Bliss?
Yes, it carries. And can I get a motion to give this immediate effect?
So moved.
Support.
All right, moved and supported. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? It carries. All right, that will take us to our last ordinance to be adopted tonight.
That's an ordinance amending Chapter 11, Purchases, Contracts, and Sales of the City Code to increase various purchasing process dollar thresholds.
All right, can I get a motion?
So moved.
Support?
All right, moved and supported. Commissioner Lanier, you want to tell us about this?
Absolutely, Mayor. We have an amendment to Chapter 11, the ordinance in Chapter 11 called Purchases, Contracts, and Sales. It's been 32 years since we've made any increases to the thresholds. And what we learned during COVID is that some of our sealed bid options can take an average of 6 weeks or more. And it has put us at a disadvantage of being able to sign for contracts. And so in order to alleviate the challenges that we've experienced, we're looking to increase the recommended thresholds for our city manager, assistant city manager, deputy city manager, other departments, and the purchasing managed sealed bids. And so within the agenda, you can see all of the specific levels and how they've increased. And what we've done to determine those figures is to look at the state of Michigan, Kent County, the cities of Kalamazoo, and then also Wayne County, so not more than one city, it looks like. And Ann Arbor as well, it looks like. So we have increased those so that we can be a little bit more competitive with our bids.
Great, thank you, Commissioner. Commissioners, any questions or comments? All right, there's a roll call vote tonight.
Commissioner Repart?
Yes.
Commissioner Lanier?
Aye.
Commissioner O'Connor?
Yes.
Commissioner Moody?
Yes.
Commissioner Asasi?
Yes.
Mayor Bliss?
Yes, it carries. All right, Commissioners, next that will take us to Commission resolutions. We do have one item that was added on today, so in order to consider that, I will need a motion to suspend the rules. Can I get a motion?
So moved.
Support?
All right, motion to suspend the rules, moved and supported. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? It carries. All right, our rules are suspended to consider a resolution, and it's just one.
It's a City Commission resolution approving settlement in circuit court case matters involving plaintiffs Harrison and Johnson.
All right, can I get a motion?
So moved.
All right, moved and supported. Commissioner Repart, you want to tell us about this item?
Yeah, thanks, Mayor. This settlement resulted in $30,000 each for both Harrison and Johnson, and then $270,000 in legal fees to the ACLU
All
to
right.
resolve this case.
All right, thank you, Commissioners. Any questions or comments? All right, this is, oh, it's not a roll call. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? It carries. All right, that will take us to our last opportunity for public comment. So rules are very similar. We ask you to come forward, share your name, the city that you live in. You'll be given up to 3 minutes to speak. Again, we ask that you respect the rules of this space in order to make sure that it's a safe place for everyone to be heard, regardless of their opinion, regardless of whether you agree with them or not. And so we will kick off our public comment period.
With yours truly, the beautiful soul, D. Jones. How you doing, everybody? My name is DeAndre Jones. What am I going to say today? Oh, I just came from a meeting with the president of Ferris State. I got invited to kick it with the president. I got to meet some cool, innovative people, some of the staff there. It was cool. I got to meet the guy who handles the financing and fiscal and the administrator for the buildings at Ferris State. That was pretty cool. I tried to prick his brain, but he was an old guy. I don't think he really wanted to talk to me. You know how old people be. And then, I got to chat with the guys that are building the esports center at Ferris State. You guys know I'm really big into esports. I just got to check out a property. I started here 4 years ago. Pitched Third Youth Summer Basketball League. Not Third Youth Summer Basketball League. I lost that pitch. But, and I didn't have time to prepare for that. I had got the information for that like a day before, but I still went to go pitch for the youth though. But I started here 4 years ago. I won the Safe Pitch Task Force. Friday, I got to tour a property with King County Commissioner Dan Burrow in Granville to check out a property to develop a community center. So my vision and my goals is coming to fruition. I stayed true to myself. I know this is the second worst city for economic development, and I believe I'll be one of the leaders that'll change the economy here. I don't think I'll be the only person to do it, but I believe that I can contribute to it. And I'm very passionate about it. I just went to the school board meeting yesterday because Tony Baker, who's going to be on the King County Commission, told me I should come there. Now I'm going to be presenting esports to our school district head athletic directors. I've already presented esports to Kent District Libraries. They're hosting esports tournaments for Super Smash Brothers, and they're looking to build innovative esports labs and things like that for our Kent District Libraries. So my vision is much more broader than a city. And staying broad-minded in such a crab-in-the-bucket mentality type of city where there isn't a lot of resources and opportunity for people, it's kind of hard, but I'm hard-bodied and I'm hard-headed. I grew up hard-headed, so I can roll with the punches and deal with the people and that's trying to get out the bucket. But I'm just really excited to chase my dreams because I started with this vision, and now I'm starting to look at properties, and now everything that I'm starting to envision is coming to fruition. I just hope that the people out there, the entrepreneurs, the visionaries, if you guys have a vision, I mean, I started from the Safe Pitch Task Force 2 years ago. I won an award for a business award, actually beat a doctor and an Ohio State graduate. So I'm sure some people who went to U of M would actually appreciate that. But I've done a lot of good things, and I know I can do a lot of good things. And I'm a member of C4. I got a free ticket to the Sustainability Award, so I'll be there at that $135 ticket. And y'all know I'm going to talk to every person there until I get the resources to make my dream a reality. Thank you. I appreciate it.
All right, others wish to be heard?
I'm Rick Baker, and I live in the First Ward, and I also have the honor of serving as president and CEO of your Grand Rapids Chamber. The Chamber represents over 2,300 businesses from diverse industries, all focused on creating a thriving, prosperous community for all. So we are aligned with and support the vision outlined in the city's strategic plan for an equitable, welcoming, healthy, and safe community with a robust economy. Tonight, I believe you're going to hear from community leaders, and you have received a letter that is signed by over 120 business people, residents, and others that live in our downtown area. They include hotels, restaurants, retailers, law firms, banks, as well as some of our healthcare systems and organizations that support those in need. I am requesting that you urgently advance an ordinance to regulate safe and appropriate access and use of the public right-of-way. It should be specifically
used to incentivize the use of available resources and promote vibrant, welcoming public spaces. We are thankful for the investment that the city has made in these efforts, but it is clear to us that there is still more to do. There's a gap that remains in the effort to create destination city that is welcoming to all, that has outcomes for those in need of service. The ongoing concerns from residents and employers related to harassment, public defecation, trespassing, assault, and other disruptive and disturbing behavior needs to be addressed with an intentional and compassionate focus on improving outcomes for individuals experiencing homelessness or struggling with mental health. Addressing appropriate access and use of public right-of-way will encourage greater use of available resources while preventing unsafe and unhealthy conditions for unhoused individuals and all other stakeholders. These steps do not happen in a vacuum, but combine with other efforts to increase the supply of affordable housing, provide mental health support, and improving outcomes among service providers. We are thankful for the many who are seen ready to work with the city to address the challenging issues that are impacting the vibrancy and the long-term success of our city. These businesses represent a growing coalition looking for a better community and better outcomes for all by providing meaningful solutions and outlining acceptable behavior in public spaces. Thank you for the opportunity to speak this evening, and we look forward to working with you to find an optimal solution for meaningful and measurable outcomes.
Thank you, Mr. Baker. All right, others wish to be heard?
Lucas again, First Ward. I don't have time to address the no-win situation last week regarding the Patrick Jones incident. Our system is broken. Options for true justice and closure are stunted. I will not come here and call cops heroes just for doing their voluntary job that they get paid for. And I will point out that the first talking point should be that no citizens were injured, Chief, not the well-being of cops. Last meeting, the city manager defended the use of a police dog as the de-escalation we've all been asking for. But Mark, you can't try to paint us as hypocrites when we just don't understand what all the weapons of war are for. Looks like GRPD is making things an equation of we either blow their brains out or we try to get the dog killed. Seems like a variety of strategic options exist in between. Another misrepresentation from the dais that I need to address from last meeting was the mayor calling me out over addressing the lies and drivel from Mr. Scott and using his name. Madam Mayor, Daniel ran for your office. He's a public figure, he's a political figure, and he's fair game. I get it. You're all here trying to balance your actual feelings on society against the positions against the portions of your souls that you've sold to your political donors. Y'all are bad about talking about the wins that you do get, and you don't have the posture you should. No swagger. It's like you play down progressiveness on purpose, which makes all of us very aware of the rich and powerful families you might be trying not to offend. There's a space for us to meet with each other in more effective honesty if you drop the mythology and convenience of West Michigan nice. Believe it or not, for all the hardcore smack I talked about him to tens of thousands of eyeballs online and in person to oppose him, even newly elected Commissioner Drew Robbins met with me for 2 hours. For those playing along, that's a new commissioner, not even seated, doing more than veteran John O'Connor to engage with his rivals. This body, despite the nasty dark money and sinister puppet masters that are involved from the last election, is moving more toward progressiveness. I still have hope that Mr. O'Connor and even Ms. Yasazi will have the courage to follow Drew's example and meet and talk. I guess I'm a cynical optimist like the late Pablo Eisenberg. Google him, and then see what you can do to emulate him in the next term. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Others wish to be heard?
Hi, my name is Dr. Joshua Koistra. I'm from Ada, Michigan. I have been an emergency physician at Corewell Health Butterworth Hospital for 20 years. I also serve as the Chief Medical Officer for Corewell Health West. and I wanted to talk to you about our unhoused population and the partnerships that we potentially could have. Over the years, we've worked very closely with our partners at Trinity St. Mary's Hospital, University of Michigan West, and with our partners at Mel Trotter Ministries to try and address this problem. We can be part of the solution, but we cannot be the solution alone, and my call to you is to get the resources and the coordination that we need. We have partnered with Mel Trotter Ministries to have a sobering unit so that patients that so that our community members that are suffering with alcoholism are not brought to emergency departments that are already overburdened. The mental health aspect of that as well is exacerbated by the alcohol, which then exacerbates what our teammates feel as workplace violence incidents that occur in our emergency departments. We want to partner in proactive ways, such as the Michigan Street Medicine Clinic program that we started in collaboration with Michigan State University. Corewell Health Physicians started this with MSU College of Human Medicine medical students to go out into the community to help our unhoused patient population, to provide them the more longitudinal care that they can receive than being dropped off in emergency departments at their times of greatest needs. We can't solve the housing crisis by ourselves, but we want to actively be part of the solution. We know that our community is a special place, and the strain on this is very real, and we're seeing it every day, as evidence what the chamber is bringing forth today. We just want to be ongoing part of the solution and want the resources that I think our city can provide to really be a world-class city. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi.
Welcome.
My name is Dennis Van Camp, and I'm the president and CEO of Mel Trotter Ministries. Mel Trotter has been serving this community for almost 123 years, and I have been blessed to serve that organization for 11 years. So we come before you today to offer our support for what we see are the common sense proposals that are being brought forth for issues like panhandling, impeding sidewalks, and things like that. If we thought for a moment that the intent or the ramifications of these proposals would be to criminalize homelessness or poverty, we wouldn't stand up before you in support of them. But we don't believe that that is the intent. We also believe that we have to frame this issue as a safety issue and not a nuisance issue. Every person that lives in downtown, every business owner, every person that does commerce in downtown has the right to do so safely and unimpeded. And sadly, all too often, that's not what happens. Similarly, when I think about those that we love and those that we serve that are experiencing homelessness and living on the streets, it is neither compassionate nor safe to allow or make it easy for someone to live on the streets. Our outreach teams have been working with these individuals for years, and we know many of them by name. And what we know from that experience is that there are really two classifications of people that are living on the streets and not seeking shelter or help. One classification, as unfathomable as it might be for us to believe, are people that choose to not seek services, and they choose to live in the manner that they're choosing. It's our belief that these common sense ordinances may help some of them to make different choices, to either seek the help that's so readily available to them or to even self-resolve from their homelessness. Sadly, the greater demographic are people that are experiencing profound mental illness and frankly lack the ability to make the wise and the safe choice. These proposals are not the answer, but we believe that they are common sense steps toward the best solution possible. Our hope is that if these ordinances are adopted, that a light will be shown on the issues of crisis that we face, the one being mental illness and the other a lack of truly affordable housing. Not what we call affordable housing, but truly affordable. The people that we work with are too low income to afford what we bill as low income housing. So it's our hope that we would come together as a community, that we would see this as a step in the right direction for solutions, and that as a community we would solve these issues. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thanks. All right, others wish to be heard?
Mayor Bliss, Commissioners, City staff. My name is Brad Mathis. I'm the Vice President of Community Development and Inclusion at Rockford Construction, and I reside in Grand Rapids Township. And wanted to share some of our thoughts and experiences with you this evening, and also our gratitude and appreciation for the work that you all have been, really contributing towards solutions, towards some of the challenges of our community, particularly in terms of keeping all of us safe and in good care and well-being. Rockford Construction, which many of you might know, is located in Grand Rapids, the adjacent downtown, just over on the west side off of Bridge Street. Our core business ultimately is around construction, real estate development, property management, but ultimately, it's really about being a good neighbor and a good community participant, to really try to make sure that we're contributing in a way to our community that really demonstrates our care and our commitment to people and the broader community that we all care about. We've been in existence for just over 30 years and have participated in much of the development as well as construction, property management in our downtown area and on the west side. We're entrusted with managing approximately 800 people in many of the apartments or units in the downtown west side of Grand Rapids, in addition to about 150 commercial spaces or tenants that are doing business in our downtown area, that are employing people, that have team members coming here and walking to work as well as driving to work in some instances. And so we're really proud of that. But we're also proud about the way in which we engage with community in some of the various programs, whether it's with the Grow 1000 program, the Grow Academy program, the West Side Cleanup, some of our collaborations with Maltrotter Ministries, as well as with Dégagé, some of our work with West Michigan Minority Contractors Association, Women in Construction. All of that is what we believe to be our commitment and our caring for making the community better. We're truly committed to the success, safety, and dignity of everyone, and believe this can be achieved by all of us working together, collaboratively, to a compassionate, dignified response. We encourage you to take action on the request before you to promote the success, safety, dignity, and well-being of everyone in our community. Thank you.
All right, others wish to be heard?
My name is Bobby Blanton, and I reside in Belmont, Michigan. My husband and I own Le Macaron French Pastries, a small business located on Monroe Center. We had always loved downtown and had a mission to find employment for people with disabilities. A little over a year ago, we had the opportunity to start the process of opening our small business on Monroe Center in the downtown area, in the exact place we had wished, and also met our mission by hiring 7 individuals with unique abilities. We were overly excited to open our doors in June, but in the first 6 months of operations, we've experienced many situations that we never thought imagined. Our store is staffed primarily with young college students and paired with an individual with a unique ability. During the first 6 months, we have experienced turnover because they do not feel safe coming to work. The employees have experienced gunshots, street fights, constant stolen tip jars, being threatened, yelled at, sworn at, and many other things. We have also had customers pushed, threatened, and followed outside of our store. We had to change our store hours because employees did not want to come to work until after sunrise. Most recently, just over a week ago, a situation occurred. We received a phone call from our store manager that an individual had walked into our store and collapsed. The employee at the store originally thought it was a medical emergency, but then the individual was able to start crawling around on the floor, yelling at her, throwing things, and smelled of alcohol. The employee called the homeless outreach team without answer. Then she called 911. During this time, the store manager was watching through cameras because the employee was scared to be alone in the store. The individual then urinated all over himself, our floor, furniture, and continued throwing things. After 20 to 30 minutes, the police finally arrived. However, our employee experienced the fear that she should never had to have experienced. Similar situations have happened over and over again in the last 6 months. These greatly affect our ability to hire staff and drive customers. We need to drive business and be able to retain staff in order to be a thriving business and support the City of Grand Rapids economy and support our mission of hiring individuals with disabilities. So I stand here tonight and ask to take action and adopt ordinances to support better outcomes for the unhoused and regulate appropriate and safe use of the public right-of-way and solicitation. We need to feel safe as we live, work, and enjoy beautiful Grand Rapids. Thank you.
All right, others wish to be heard? Others wish to be heard?
Hi, my name is Mandy. In the past, I've tried to translate the pain and needs of my community. That hasn't worked. So today, I'll try appealing to things that matter to you most, yourselves. The kids at Jefferson School, the school that used to be an elementary school but now is an alternative school for teenagers, they recorded a video of the officer-involved shooting last week. I've seen it. I hope you've all taken the time to watch it. I won't go over the details of the video because there are a lot of uncertainties about what transpired that day, but what is certain is that what I saw in that video, those kids saw in real life. Many of us empathize and grieve for what those kids experienced. And I know you might be wondering, why should you care? While you look down at me from up there, let me remind you that we live in the same world. We share the same spaces. We sit on the same bleachers. Imagine your impressionable niece or nephew takes a liking to someone on social media. They become friends and share adversities with one another. And the friend introduces your loved one to the suicidal idealization they've been experiencing since the day last week. I'll give you another example. Little Timmy ends up playing in the same casual basketball game as, say, Jacob, one of the students who witnessed the tragedy. Now, Timmy might not be the type to get into physical altercations, but Jacob has been having trouble navigating through his PTSD triggers. You may be thinking, anyone who puts hands on Timmy is going to jail. Yeah, that's fine, but your little Timmy might be afraid to play basketball for a while and now has his own triggers and traumas to work through. My favorite example. What if some of those kids have been dealing with pain and suffering their whole lives, and leaving them to deal with this on their own is the last straw? They've become certain that the systems are not for them and that the police are just a never-ending cycle of harm. They become radicalized and reach out to their local activists eager to get involved. Those are just a couple of scenarios. I'm sure you can think of your own. I'm suggesting that you prioritize funding for quality therapy and life coaching for those kids from providers that they deem safe. That means of their choosing. I encourage you to support our efforts to try to alleviate some of those stresses and find their immediate needs. Now, I know that sounds expensive, but with a $62 million budget to spend, I think the GRPD has a few dollars to spare. Let them foot the bill. And before you write off my suggestions, remember, you don't have to do it because the kids at Jefferson deserve it or because I'm pleading with you to do so. Do it for yourselves, because raising your youth in a different zip code isn't the isolation you think it is.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Mitra, and I just want to ask a few questions and say what I think is true. And first thing I want to ask is, why do police treat us like this and don't care about us? And they want to
right, others wish to be heard?
My name is Donnie, and I live in the 3rd Ward. First and foremost, I want to start off by making the request and suggestion that this meeting be more accessible, not only just physically, but also allow people to call in. During the pandemic, there was a whole 2 years where you allowed people to call in, and I think that's very, very, very important in order to be able to do that. As you were saying before, if you're trying to care about people coming here and being able to voice their opinions, then you have to allow them and give them time, because a 9 to 5, you can't even get here with a 9 to 5. I know what you're saying, but if you work a 9 to 5, you don't have time to get here because you have errands to run after you get out of work, if you can make it here. So again, make this meeting more accessible, allow people to call in. Second, I'm only going to spend a little bit of time on it, but I also want to echo the situation, the police-involved shooting that happened over on Cass and in front of the Jefferson Alternative School. I want to echo the fact that it should be either GRPD paid for program, or the city pays for it, or a combination of both. If you guys want to show your efforts on caring about this community, that would be the thing to do, right? Because it would have to be a mental health of some sort in order for of their choosing, in order for it to be of equal value, because they did experience something that day, and regardless of how you feel about it, they had to go to bed and think about it and continue to do that. So those kids are owed that by everyone. Second, on the agenda topic, you guys say things like you care about the communities here and you're trying to make them better, but it's not actually working. Like, right? You're doing superficial programs. You actually have companies coming up here talking about how there's like crime happening, right? They're trying to pass an ordinance in order to criminalize poverty, right? So if we want the problems or complications that come from poverty to stop, then start actually giving out resources that are beneficial and not just superficial. Actually start giving out programs that are going to help people and actually give them real resources. We're talking about people who did have medical outbreaks, right? These mental things. So let's say in this police involved shooting, this person is having a mental outbreak, but is deemed as an escalation. What happens? Who pays for that? Who's attending that? Is that actual care, or is that just justification to take somebody's life? You say things like the Patrick Lyoya case. It's not Patrick Lyoya's case. It's Christopher Scher. He murdered Patrick Lyoya. Patrick Lyoya can't take the stand because he is dead. Justice for Patrick Lyoya.
All right, others wish to be heard?
Good evening. Thank you for the opportunity to speak. My name is Jess Savino. I am also Jessica the Poet. I come before you as a proud graduate of Catholic Central. I'm a former member of the Cable Television Advisory Forum here in the city of Grand Rapids. I have a bachelor's degree in community leadership. I have a master's degree in management, both from Aquinas College. I'm a proud resident of the 3rd Ward for most of my adult life. Today, when I was unpacking the messy boxes of my life, I found a note from Mayor Reverend George Hartwell from 2004, wishing me well. Today, his well wishes come to fruition. I stand before you, proud to be able to say things like the people who stood before me brought me to tears, and the people who stand behind me have yet to speak. I also have a vision for our city. I also want us to be a great destination city. I believe we can create that livable city together. But West Michigan has a communication problem. We're all talking and no one is understanding each other. This is regarding the resolution for the City Commission with the understanding downtown Grand Rapids, City of Kendall College, Ferris State, and the establishment of Art Prize 2.0. I saw early this morning that there were still open seats on that board. Should this commission be involved in choosing who sits on those seats? I would love to be considered for it. because I think this would be an opportunity for a real live resident, a real Grand Rapidian, to be involved in taking an incredible catalyst provided by the generosity of the DeVos family and turning it into something real and tangible, not just fodder for the news, not just a holy depiction made of pennies, but something real that each one of us can be proud in which to participate. Because maybe then people will have outlets for their anger. They can, like me, use their words to express the pain instead of carrying it around in a bottle waiting for it to explode. Maybe other people could use their art. Maybe we could help marginalized people participate on the global stage in ArtPrize 2.0. That'd be really messy and it'd be really hard because some of the people that are marginalized don't fit the criteria to be sorted and filtered into participation. But lucky for me, I get sorted and filtered into the right places, which allows me to speak in front of you on behalf of all the people that don't have voices. And I see people look away when I start to get excited and talk fast about the things that no one wants to hear about. But that's why I should be appointed the next board member of ArtPrize 2.0. So the things no one wants to get talked about are actually heard.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Appreciate it. All right, others wish to be heard?
Good evening. Thank you for allowing me to be here. My name is Wendy Randall. I'm a resident of the City of Wyoming, and I'm director of the Kent County Essential Needs Task Force, working in the City of Grand Rapids and the surrounding community. As director of the Kent County Essential Needs Task Force, we work as a convening partner around the issue areas of food and nutrition, the Kent County Food Policy Council, energy efficiency and utilities, transportation, economic and workforce development, and digital inclusion. And we align closely with the Coalition to End Homelessness, Housing Kent, and many city staff around these very issues. We include more than 120 organizations in discussion and strategy to address root causes of crisis situations. I'm here this evening to express frustration and disappointment in the recommended language brought forward to the City of Grand Rapids. The language incorporates words that imply compassion and a desire to help, but ultimately add a layer of regulation that impacts those disenfranchised by mainstream society and those experiencing homelessness and disproportionately experiencing poverty. Access to resources is limited because resources themselves are limited. The ordinances will make people uncomfortable and will engage in negative interactions rather than positive referrals to resources. Perpetuating the narratives that those who experience homelessness bring an unsafe environment is a negative consequence of this recommendation. These recommendations cannot be effectively carried out without disproportionately impacting those at greatest risk. The concerns of health, safety, and equity in the city are recognized by those who wrote the letter, and I applaud their attempt, but I'm concerned about the language. We need to reach down into the issues to address the root causes of poverty and discrimination, the root causes of homelessness, including mental health issues. And currently, we have insufficient resources to address those issues effectively without enforcement. The idea of developing or instituting acceptable behaviors simply adds another layer of language to that of the violence which is already illegal. Adding language increases intimidation and reduces trust between the city and those most at risk. I urge the commission and city staff to explore non-ordinance means of supporting proven methods of outreach based on relationship rather than enforcement. The recommended language points to enforcement and undermines dignity of those community members most at risk. I respectfully disagree with those who signed on to the recommendations, though I do agree that the intention is positive.
Thank you. Thanks. Appreciate it.
Hello.
Hi, welcome.
My name is Jim. I live in Grand Rapids, and I own a business in downtown Grand Rapids. And on my street, that means that you have to be prepared to clean up after people who have defecated in your doorway. It means that you regularly need to clean up after people who have urinated in your doorway. And that urine, repeated sustained urination, causes thousands of dollars of damage. To mitigate the issues that cause, it's substantial. But what keeps us excited about Grand Rapids also is we have the privilege of being permitted to serve the public on the sidewalk and the street, and it's awesome. I think it really adds to the community, and I enjoy it. But it also means that I spend a lot of time outside. So I've seen people face down in a pool of vomit and a pool of urine and covered in flies. And it appeared that that did not violate any standard of acceptability for downtown Grand Rapids. Nothing was done. As far as panhandling, I have seen a person who was walking barefoot and vomited, and it splashed over their feet and their clothing. And then they immediately went up to people in their desperation to solicit, money. This was a desperate person. Those people were horrified. And then he continued on, repeated that again, and then horrified other people. So panhandling has levels of what could be tolerated. And often there's panhandling that gets aggressive to the point where the person seeking money will sit down at a table with people that are looking to get served at a restaurant. That can often escalate when the staff intervenes into certainly verbal confrontations and threats, up to the point where my staff has been violently attacked. So I think it would be best for Grand Rapids and society in general if the issues those people were facing were caught a little further upstream and we didn't get to that point. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, others wish to be heard? Hi, welcome.
Oh, someone.
Oh, somebody's phone? Can you do me a favor? Can you hold that up? Did somebody who just spoke left a phone? Is that you, Wendy? Okay, okay. Or maybe Asante, can you, or Chief, thanks.
Unfortunately, the examples that you just heard are an everyday occurrence.
I'm sorry, can you start with your name and city you live in?
Nicholas, Grand Rapids. I work for AHC Hospitality, specifically overseeing the JW Courtyard and AC hotels downtown. First, I want to thank you all for the opportunity to speak about my experiences on this very challenging and crucial topic. The hospitality industry is an empathetic one, an industry that quite literally operates in care, compassion, and kindness. Personally, I've worked in this downtown setting for nearly 16 years. I care about the entirety of this community. What I also care about is the 1,400 associates, nearly 1,400 associates that work within the hotel company. Their safety and well-being is paramount to me. In addition, I care about how our city is viewed from our guests when they travel here through the lens of the hotel. Unfortunately, at this time, we have reached an unsafe situation for both our associates for our associates that serve our community and the guests that join us here in our community. There hasn't been a day that has gone by that we haven't experienced in the past year and a half, that we haven't experienced a challenging, dangerous situation from an unhoused individual. Broadly, it is important to note that these individuals have turned more dangerous recently, even violent in some cases. Mental wellness has been a major challenge. When managing these situations, respectfully from the hospitality community, there is a call to action that the ordinance that has been laid out in the joint letter that has been shared with this body be advanced. We live in a special city. I appreciate that many within our community realize that we fall short in some areas, but I appreciate even more that we work together towards being better for this community. Thank you so much for listening, and I appreciate your consideration.
Thank you. All right, others wish to be heard?
I'm Casey from the 3rd Ward. I'd like to go over the GRPD budget for the last 30 years in 10-year increments. 1990, it was 19.4 million. 2000, it was 35.8 million. 2010, it was 48.5 million. 2020, it was 56.2 million. And today, you just approved, I believe, up into the 60 million for next fiscal year. So their budget has more than doubled since 1990, which means they're definitely keeping up with the rate of inflation from the population. Have your wages kept up with the rate, not yours, have your wages kept up with the rate of inflation? Has affordable housing kept up with the rate of inflation? Has the budget for our streets or the education for our children? Because the police department is definitely keeping up with the rate of inflation. Do you guys know your city budget? What kind of information are you sharing with each other? I believe that if we are born, then we deserve food, shelter, water, healthcare, basic minimum, right? But here, if you don't have those things, it's a crime. Here, you can work your tail off to get those things. And then if you're really lucky, you can climb the ladder and we could like get a seat just like you one day or something like that, you know, boss of the factory or whatever. But what if we just want to exist and we don't want to climb the ladder at all? What if we just want to just exist? What if we don't have any intention on contributing to society in a financial way? Where's the spot for those people? Because right now they're peeing downtown in these people's establishments, and you guys are all agreeing with each other that you then should probably put them in jail, which I know, you know, Grand Rapids is going to be the next Detroit. We're projected in, what, like 3 to 5 years? So I know you guys are really pushing the things like the arenas and the attractions and the curbside appeal and everything. I know that the people not climbing the ladder and the people out on the street are not part of your plan, and you're pushing them out. Just know we're going to fight back. So we'll be here every other Tuesday, per usual, 2 o'clock. See you then. Justice for Patrick. Justice for the man who was murdered or committed suicide in front of children. And then you guys publicized that no children were hurt. But did you publicize that the school released the children while the body was laying in the street and all the children walked past the sheet? Publicize that.
Hello, my name is Aurora and I live in the 3rd Ward. All I want to say is that I feel so bad for all of the kids in that school that had to experience that because the police wanted to just decide to shoot them.
All right, others wish to be heard?
Mark from Grand Rapids. I'm not going to regurgitate what happened or by the school. You heard from the kids and the parents themselves. However, I want to talk about what was mentioned a few minutes prior to the this one called homeless ordinance. I understand that businesses are leery of homeless people coming in there wreaking havoc in their establishments. And I don't blame them one bit. However, you better be careful of what you say. Because remember, this meeting is going all around the world on YouTube. and you have nutcases that'll track down homeless people and give them a beat down to end all beat downs. Don't take my word for it. It happened over the summer in South Carolina, where a bunch of right-wing nut jobs went to homeless encampments, beat up homeless people, molested their children, raped women, kicked individuals upside their heads. That's a problem. You better think about that, because you don't want that to happen here. I feel for you people who's talking about it, but let's just be for real. It's going to happen. Trust me on that one. I know we got home shelters like Mel Trotter, but guess what? During the day, they'll kick them out. They'll have nowhere to go. Got to think about that too, because it's going to get colder. You don't want people to freeze to death, because they'll be on your hands. Remove J. Edgar Hoover's name from the FBI building. Remove George Wallace's name from the town of Mobile, Alabama. Justice for Patrick Leoya, and free Brittany Griner. And keep the meetings during the evening times, because the masses are not going to show up at 2 o'clock. Thank you.
All right, others wish to be heard?
Hi, Kyrie Hankton. Nice to see everyone. Good evening. CEO and founder of 6IC LLC and IVI Technologies. FSPM, we help people with financial, spiritual, physical, and mental fitness here in Grand Rapids. I've been doing it for over a decade with over 5,000 souls touched here in Michigan. I kind of came across a few problems. Cybersecurity is huge here in Michigan, and I don't know if we got anything going on about that, but cybersecurity, I would like to see more programs for cybersecurity, programming, IT to be here in Michigan, because not only is there a financial gap, but there's a huge language barrier here in Michigan. So protecting electric choice here, just cryptocurrencies and stuff like that, because we are moving in the future. And again, I can't exaggerate it enough. Financial literacy is everything. Is everything here. Sorry, I'm a bit nervous, but financial literacy is everything. Again, like with homeless people, criminals, and police and stuff like that. Well, if the police get defunded, that's not really going to happen, because the police and humans and stuff like that is going to get replaced with growth hacking and algorithms and stuff like that.
Sir,
a lot
can
of us
you
here,
speak to us?
Yes, a
Okay.
lot of us in here are going to be managing AI. So, like, life insurance is huge. If more people knew more about life insurance, because if that young man was protected with life insurance on cash, then the city would have to pay. So everybody that get shot and gunned down, well, somebody's going to have to pay. And if these guys have to pay, then they'll be cracking down on these guys like, hey guys, we need to come up with something, so we won't have to spend so much money. So that's why financial literacy is so important, so people can know more about annuities, Roth IRAs and stuff like that. Because if people just had a comfortability of knowing that their future is okay, then maybe the criminal rate will decrease. Rectify the talent shortage here in Michigan. There's not really there's not much going on here in Michigan. Well, there is, but there's a lot of people who what I'm saying is that I want to create a community to where people feel comfortable taking on leadership roles. We need a community where people feel comfortable trying new things, because again, a tech age is coming, financial gap, we need to keep up.
Thank you. Thank you for your comments. All right, others wish to be heard? Hi. How are
Yes, thank you. Hi.
My name is Denavia Moget. I live in the First Ward. Thank you all for being here tonight. I just came to give you all, extend an invitation from the Coalition for Community-Owned Safety to our upcoming 5-part series called the Reinvest in GR campaign. I'm really excited more so to speak about this after hearing all of the public comments tonight. A lot of people have strong feelings about the budget, and I could see where it would be beneficial to all of us in the city to take a deep dive and understand it a little bit better. And that's essentially what this campaign is about. The Coalition for Community-Owned Safety started in fall of 2021. By 5 organizations, the ACLU of Michigan, the NAACP, the Urban League, the Urban Core Collective, and Link Up. And those organizations came together just to research how budget allocations can impact safety and how public safety, which is traditionally spoken from a reactionary perspective, can be proactively addressed by funding the resources that contribute to the root causes of crime. And so from that research from those 5 organizations last year, this work has really grown. This year, the coalition has over 30 organizations, the Hispanic Center of West Michigan, Black Wall Street, Grand Rapids, and others. The first event will be this Thursday at Link Up at 5:30. This event will be focused on police accountability. The next one will be focused on climate change and environmental sustainability ideas. And then will be mental health and physical health ideas. And they're going to wrap up with equitable economic development. And then lastly, affordable housing solutions. And we're so excited about this because what I'm hearing tonight and what we hear all the time over the years in Grand Rapids is that everyone has opinions about what we should be doing. But when it comes time to make an informed decision, when we ask people, if you were city manager for a day, how would you slice the pie? How would you fund these ideas? What ideas do you think would be most effective in Grand Rapids? And turn that information into a report that leaders like you can use so that people don't have to come into the city commission meeting to give their one idea with no idea of how it's going to impact the budget. So we're excited about this work. We are canvassing all over the city. We're putting flyers everywhere. We brought flyers tonight. For anyone who's interested, they'll be on the table in the back. But we would really love for our elected leaders to come and our city staff to attend. And they will all be live streamed. Everything will be translated into multiple languages. And everyone who attends will be surveyed for their opinion on how we reinvest in these 6 focus areas. And I'll just add this one thing. The reason why this is called the Reinvest in GR campaign and not the Invest in GR campaign is because when we researched the past of this city and we looked at the old days before we outsourced so many of our resources to the county and others, we had an Office of Public Welfare and so many other staffers here that could address these issues.
Thank you.
And that's what this is about.
Thanks.
So thank you so much.
All right, thank you. All right, others who wish to be heard?
My name's Carrie. I live in the 2nd Ward. Just have a couple thoughts after listening to all of the other public comments tonight. I hear a whole lot of business owners talking who don't actually live in Grand Rapids. I hear a whole lot of complaints about safety without any real ideas on how to make that better. I hear a whole lot of complaints about urination and defecation in the streets. You know what would make that better? Having more than one public restroom available for all of the unhoused people that are downtown. That's one way we could improve that situation. I hear a whole lot of talk about, caring and compassion for people and where they live. In the last week, I've seen 3 different articles in the news about apartments and housing going in that's all at market rate. Where is the affordable housing? Many other cities our size or larger have dedicated space to tiny house villages to be used for the unhoused community, to help give them a place to live and to call their own. I've volunteered many times with Family Promise GR, who is one of the great organizations here that remodels mobile homes for unhoused families. We need much more of that in this city. Everyone talks about making it a destination city for all the tourists. We need to do more to make it livable for the people who actually are here living in Grand Rapids, who actually are contributing and working in your businesses. There's no affordable housing to be had. The mental health situations here are so limited for people to get help that it's ridiculous. And then add on top of that the harassment that the unhoused face from GRPD regularly, sweeping them and throwing away all of their belongings to clean up downtown so that it looks pretty for the businesses, instead of actually providing solutions for housing and jobs for them.
Thank you. All right, others wish to be heard?
My name is Paul Hule. I'm CEO of Eenhoorn, a company downtown, as well as honorary consul to the Netherlands. Between our various properties downtown, we represent between 1,200 or 1,200 downtown residents. And the number one reoccurring issue is being asked what we're doing about the safety in public spaces and how we appropriately address people living on the street. As consul to the Netherlands, I've been in a privileged position to have experienced things in Europe as well as here. And as you know, the Netherlands is a much more socialistic country, a lot more progressive, and there too they have passed similar ordinances that you are considering at this point. That doesn't mean that you cannot be benevolent if you also expect certain expectations. What I like to refer you to, because people are not necessarily going to listen to me or anybody else because we're so polarized, is a book written by Michael Schellenberger. He has lived in San Francisco for 30 years, and he actually used the Amsterdam model for homelessness as an example of maybe what you're looking at. During that time, he advocated for decriminalizing of drugs, affordable housing, alternatives to jail and prison. But as homeless encampments spread and overdose deaths skyrocketed, Schellenberger decided to take a closer look at the problem. What he discovered shocked him. The problems had grown worse not despite, but because of progressive policies. San Francisco and other West Coast cities, Los Angeles, Seattle, Portland, had gone beyond merely tolerating homelessness, drug dealing, and crime to actively enabling them. San Francisco, that's how I call it, reveals that the underlying problem isn't a lack of housing or money for social programs. The real problem is an ideology that designates some people by identity or experience as victims entitled to destructive behaviors. The result is an undermining of values that makes cities and civilizations itself possible. So I would urge you to read that book. Amsterdam is in it specifically, and encourage the city commissioner to take these brave and difficult steps on behalf not just for the businesses, but also the people that are suffering being unhoused. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, others wish to be heard?
Hi, my name is Michael Seitzma. I work down here. I've been here for over 20 years as an employee or a business person, but also about 14 months ago, had the privilege of moving downtown. So I'm also a downtown resident, live on Monroe Center. And thank you for giving the opportunity to speak, and very much appreciate how many people came out and clearly have a passion for the city, and different voices, different experiences, but thank you for listening to them. I just wanted to share, I've been wanting to be downtown as a resident for a long time, and just moving here 14 months ago. It was nice because the city has provided my family an opportunity prior to moving down here to work with a lot of the philanthropic organizations. It's one of the things that I think makes Grand Rapids and West Michigan special. And working with Mel Trotter Ministries and working with Family Promise and Dégagé and God's Kitchen, my children have actually grown up serving, and through that service, they've grown to appreciate Grand Rapids and the heart of who we are. And whether that's going and watching Mel Trotter go and find people on freezing cold nights to make sure that they don't freeze, or Family Promise finding families to get them out of their cars to go live someplace, it's provided a nice insight for my children. They've also been able to work side by side with a number of the people who utilize those services, and they've had a big influence on the development of my children. And so for that, I'm very thankful. As a resident, it's a privilege to live here and have gotten to know many of the people that I encounter on the streets, both from residents and from employees, and also people who are living on the street. What I'm struggling with and what I want to share is the disappointment that I've had, because my youngest daughter, who has been with us, she's in college, but she's lived for the winter or for the summer when she was working, and also when she comes and visits, has now told me that she does not want to live downtown, which kind of breaks my heart, because I'm really proud of the city. I grew up here and we're finally downtown, and she gets to be part of it. She served. But the urination, the defecation, the public sex, the drugs, the threats, the violence, the fights, she's come home enough times crying because she's part of that. And when she witnesses her dad being threatened to, somebody says, I'm going to do this to you, I'm going to do that to you, it's fine. A lot of things are just said. But for a child at all ages, it's challenging. And it disappoints me, because a lot of this, we have to care for the people who have these needs. We have to have compassion. We have to love them. I'm not sure that the balance that we have right now is fair to all concerned. And I think we can do better. And I think we don't have all the answers. I think somebody asked, what are we doing to provide the answers? We still need some of them. But we also have to get to a better normal. And we have to have compassion for the people who need services, but also for the safety of the people who are living here and working here and visiting here. So thank you for the time, and thank you for all the work you guys are doing. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you for your comments.
Hello.
Welcome.
My name is Sam Cummings. I live in the 2nd Ward, the city of Grand Rapids. First, I want to thank all of you for your service in the last couple of years especially. It's been very difficult, I know. And even though we may disagree on things, we all love this city. And I'm grateful to all of you for your steadfastness in doing your best to advance her. So you've heard a lot tonight, of a lot of people tonight representing very different segments of our community. You've also seen, or will see, the extensive list of folks in our community who advocate for taking action to support at risk in our community. And I'll acknowledge that some of the actions necessary may characterize tough love. As an old friend and mentor of mine frequently said, the key to a good and vibrant city is everyone behaving well, obeying the rules and respecting each other. Everyone, regardless of socioeconomic status, has the right to feel comfortable and safe in a good, healthy, and diverse city. It is what makes a city work. And a few people's actions cannot be a threat to themselves or to others. A lot of cities are facing challenges like these, but few, if any, are doing anything to address them. Well, my friends, in this city, we're leaders, and together we can and will do something. We're not waiting for others to show us what is the right and the compassionate thing to do. We, by being here and testifying tonight, or by our names affixed to the letters provided to you, are standing together with all of you to take this action together as our city does. We earnestly request that your adoption of these ordinances to protect our unhoused and to ensure that all people can feel safe using the public realm of our city. Thank you very much.
Thank you. All right, others wish to be heard?
Russell Olmsted, 1st Ward, West Side, Grand Rapids. I'm a business owner in the city. I've owned North Coast Guitar Company, and we were located on Wealthy and Granville, downtown Grand Rapids, for a number of years. And to the other predominantly white business owners who were speaking this evening, being uncomfortable is not unsafe. So I think you need to evaluate that. And please evaluate your understanding of the idea of compassion. So many people have talked about this in the past, and so many of you on the dais have already fought for this over the years of your service here in not criminalizing poverty. And you've fought to take away some of the things that are in our codes in this city that have criminalized poverty. So much of the problems that we face as community, that so many of the problems that you face in unraveling the systemic issues have to deal with unintended consequences of laws and ordinances that were passed before you were even here, before you even decided to run. The proposal that's being brought is going to lead to a massive amount of unintended consequences. And those unintended consequences are going to fall on people who don't have anything or ability, the same amount of ability to advocate for themselves in this sort of an environment. Please take that into consideration when you evaluate that proposal, and I hope that you do not proceed forward with it. On a different note, I don't know if I'm going to be able to be here for the last meeting that a couple of you are going to be on next week because my work schedules are crazy. Commissioner Repart, Commissioner Lanier, Commissioner Jones, who is not there this evening, thank you for the time that you've put forward here. Thank you for always doing what you believe to be in the best interest of our community and fighting for the communities that you represent. I can't tell you how much I respect the work that you do, and every one of you, the work that you do. We don't agree all the time, I know that, but the ability to run for public office is not an ability everybody can do or wants to do. And what you make, I don't believe, I know the sentiment of selling one's soul to get there. I don't think people are selling their soul for $23,000 a year. I just don't see that. I respect you. Kurt, I'm sorry for the dark money campaign that was put forth against you in this last campaign, and the lies that were told about you and your service, and the lies about this community and this city. It was very unjust. And thank you again. I very much appreciate your service.
Thank you, Russ.
Hello, my name is Christian, First Ward, Crested Neighborhood. I want to start off by saying I would really like to thank Kurt Repart for his service on the City Commission, for his willingness to have conversations with the activists that many of you look down on, and to actually try and be in spaces and listen to them. I really do appreciate that. We're not hooligans, we're not troublemakers, we're not burning down buildings. We care about the city a lot more than the people in the suits do. So I'd like to start off by saying that this morning, the adoption of the police union contract, there's definitely positives in that, but the fact that we gave a raise to a police organization that shot and killed a citizen in Grand Rapids, a immigrant in Grand Rapids, is awful. These guys don't deserve raises, especially when they lie about being understaffed. When they had 9 officers show up to one stop today, 5 officers show up to a stop the other day in front of my house, 10 officers show up to in the middle of the night at 3 a.m. to a stop when it was just a 17-year-old girl. That's not an organization that needs a raise. That is not an organization that needs more money or more funding. It's an organization that needs to be put on a leash. Secondly, I'd like to say that the people here in this room who wear the suits and are CEOs and make hundreds of thousands of dollars a year come to these meetings. Don't ever come to these meetings unless it has to do with them. They don't come here on regular days to talk about the city and what they want to do to make it better. They just come here when it matters to them, when they want to criminalize something in the city for nothing, like criminalizing houselessness, what you're about to do. You want to see more people die at the hands of the police? You want to turn into a city where houseless people can't even be on the street without being harassed by the police? Go ahead, do it. You're not earning any more fans on the city commission. I'm definitely not a fan of most of the commission here. I'm definitely not a fan of the people behind me who came up here and said they were so scared because a houseless person was sleeping in front of their business because they had nowhere else to sleep. Maybe have some compassion
for once. Maybe if you stepped out of your realm for 2 seconds, stepped out of your business suit for 2 seconds and put yourself in those shoes, just because you volunteer at God's Kitchen or volunteer at Mel Trotter doesn't mean you're a good person. You're a good person when you go down to Hardside, which is something that you guys and the GRPD voted to help kick people out of last 2 Christmases ago, I think it was. They have nowhere else to go, these houseless population. They've been pushed here, there, here, there, here, there. They have nowhere else to go. Go ahead and criminalize poverty and make yourself the enemy some more, because you're not community leaders when you do something like that. Justice for Patrick Lyoya.
Thank you. All right, anyone else who wishes to be heard? Okay, I'm going to close that opportunity for public comment, and I will turn to my colleagues. And I will start down here with Commissioner Moody.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I am thankful for all of the letters in reference to the ordinance that has come out to us tonight in reference to the businesses that are in our city. I strongly believe that downtown is vital, but I also believe that the entire city is vital. Every business, not just downtown, but throughout the entire areas of Grand Rapids. And reading your letter and all the individuals that are engaged in your letter, I think it's important that we all understand that your nonprofits that are engaged, your business and your residents that are engaged is all good. But there was one part in your letter that I really had some concern about until I read it clearly, and that was that I do not believe in decriminalizing the homeless people. But I do believe that there are some solutions that we all can work on together in reference to the ordinance. The city has already have some ordinance in places already. The issue is that some of the ordinances that are in place is not necessarily being enforced. But at the same time, as we all come together as a collective body within the city, we can make some solutions come to reality in reference to some of the ordinance that you have in place, providing that the city government, our manager, our mayor, and those city officials that are engaged in making a change, along with the chamber, that we come up with a better solution. I'm not saying that your solutions on your letter aren't good, they are, but at the same time, I think it's important for us to come to the realization that there are some other things that we can do that can make this applicable. The other thing, too, is that I've experienced in my own personal business the problems of individuals lying in doorways. As an owner, I've taken upon myself to talk to those individuals and to make sure that they move along and give them some directions and some clarification as to what they need to do. Sometimes we are very poor, as the young lady said earlier today, in communication. We got all this wealth, all this information, but yet we don't get it out appropriately like we should. And I think as a business, we are to come together and sit down and put a solution that will end this problem. Homeless people need help. There is a mental problem that's out there, and we all need to figure out what do we need to do to make this solution better. And you can't force us to do it. We got to talk about it, but we also got to put something in place that we get this done immediately. I, for one, if we had to vote on this tonight, I would not be voting on it tonight until we come together, sit down, look at the ordinance that we already have in place and the ordinance that you want to put in place, and then take it from there and make some decisions. I'm in favor that something has to be done. I don't want you to think that I don't care. I'm in favor that something has to be done, but I just don't want to put us in a position where we are criminalizing homeless people. We say we're not, but it could end up being that.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner O'Connor.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. First, I just want to touch on I'm very thankful that we were able to come to an agreement with our Police Officers Association in the collective bargaining environment, and I know it's there's been some celebration of that and some criticism of that, and I look at it and I see in there like collective bargaining is compromise, right? It's trying to get to the best possible outcome for the employee and the best possible outcome for the city and the best possible outcome for the community. And at the end of the day, I want, like all organizations, we're all struggling to find talent and we want the best people to do the job, regardless of the organization. And so I think this agreement acknowledges the fact that we need to, I want the best and brightest to want to come to work in Grand Rapids and be our public safety officers. And at the same time, I'm also proud of the fact that, we're the first, from what I've been told, the first organization in the state to collectively bargain to have oversight language in their police contract, which I think is a huge deal. And it may not go as far as some people want, but I think that's a telling statement that we were able to get to that point when others have not been that successful at that. So, I think this is a 3-year contract, and it'll get revisited in 3 years, just like all our contracts do. But this was, I think, a point to say we want to hire the best and brightest, and to do that, we do have to pay for the best and brightest in all our organizations. We've done this consistently for all of our bargaining groups. We're trying to recognize the hard work and talent that the men and women do to come to work for the city of Grand Rapids. I don't think anybody comes to work for the city of Grand Rapids because they're looking to get rich. They're coming to work because they're going to work for a public service organization, and it takes a special person to want to do that, I think, and not go into the private sector or not do something else. So I'm really proud of this contract. I also just want to thank everyone for coming out and speaking tonight. I'm looking forward to continuing some conversations about how we work to solve some of the more systemic issues that are related to our in-house community. I think we've made significant investments in housing, in mental health solutions, into a HOT team, into the mental health crisis response team. I think all those things it has to be a comprehensive solution that may take some additional enforcement actions, but it also may take enforcing what we have on the books and figuring out how we provide some outlets for people. So I think this is a first step to some ongoing dialogue tonight, and I look forward to being part of those conversations.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Lanier?
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you, everyone, for coming out this evening and participating in our City Commission meeting. I'm grateful to hear the feedback from so many this evening. I think, obviously, the decision that is being advocated for us to make regarding an ordinance isn't mine to make with my imminent departure, but I think, to the points of my colleagues who have already spoken, there are existing ordinances that are on the books, and the stories that I've heard this evening could have been addressed by those ordinances. I think that City Manager, you obviously are hearing the same things, the same concerns, and have received the same emails. And I think, it's time to have some conversations surrounding what does shelter truly look like, and sheltering people overnight is not shelter. In West Michigan, where our temperatures we've had a mild winter, but where temperatures can really be dangerous for people to be out in the elements. And so I think as we're considering, as you all are considering all of this, I would want us to make sure that a part of the solution is to make sure, as we discussed the unhoused population months ago, before the weather had changed, we were asking, a couple of us on the dais asked for a plan to address the unhoused community to make sure that shelter was available. And I think to the points that were being made earlier, we know what it would take to get those who are experiencing homelessness inside of facilities. And some of the rules that exist in some of our agencies limit that. And so we have to have some frank conversations if we're trying to get to true solutions. And so I hope that as you all are considering all options, that you take that into consideration so that we can make sure that people are safe in, I think it was health and well-being, some language of that nature. And I think that that's a part of that. I think that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, Commissioner. Commissioner Rappaport?
Oh, sorry. Thanks, Russ, wherever you are. Thank you.
Thanks, Mayor. Thank you all for coming. Many of you know I've had a lot of conversations with you about the unhoused population in our community. You know that it's very important to me personally. And I'm just going to have to say that, boy, I'd like to end my term on an encouraging note, but this is discouraging to me. I think that what I long for this town is that we'll prioritize the people who are suffering and build our solutions from their experience to truly make an impact. This letter is advocating that we go in the opposite direction. The letter is advocating for a superficial solution. You know, we have 6 ordinances on the books that are not currently being enforced. Why would we add another one? I think that we have a quality, if people are tired of cleaning up poop and pee, I wish that they would come and just say, would you please build more bathrooms downtown? We have some partners who are not in the room tonight, and they would advocate for something different. And when I think about if we're going to solve a solution, if we're experiencing a problem as a community that needs a business solution, then that's when the business community needs to step forward. This solution is different. Working as somebody who's worked my whole career with people who are suffering, low-income people, the solutions that are required are different. They are messy and they are complicated and they are not easy, and a superficial answer never works. And so when I convened a couple of meetings in Hartside to talk about this issue, some people in the room here came to those meetings. Some of those providers, those partners that are not in the room today, are willing to consider some of the things that are in this letter. But before they consider adding an ordinance or strengthening a resolution or changing some of the language in our current ordinances that's confusing, they need some assurances. They need some assurances that there are going to be actual resources in place for these people. They need some assurances that the GRPD are not going to enforce these things by taking people to jail. And so we're not going to be able to pass an ordinance that this community can celebrate until those assurances are in place and before there's a confidence that the resources will be there to support people who are suffering. I can't imagine what it's like to sleep on concrete. I can't imagine what it's like to not have a place to go to the bathroom. That's where we need to start. If our city doesn't begin there and building our solutions, they will always fail. And in 10 years from now, this is the 3rd time in our city where a panhandling ordinance type solution has been brought forward. Our community just had a survey, and our community identified that only 32% of our community believes that we're taking care of marginalized people appropriately. Only 32%. Benchmarked across the nation, that's in the 8th percentile of cities across America. If we pass this ordinance, the residents that I represent in the 1st Ward would reject it wholeheartedly. They want to see us build solutions for people, and they want to see us not just use the language of compassion, but act it out by the things that we implement as a city. What I wish the letter would have read was, we long for the people sleeping on the street to no longer be sleeping on the street. And we want the city to be a convening partner to help us come up with that solution. What's being proposed is not something that I could support because I don't think that it would have the effect that the people who are asking for it would desire. I think that there are a lot of things that we could do to have an impact on the things that the people who talk tonight desire. There are a lot of things that we can do together that would eliminate some of this behavior that is problematic, but this isn't the one. So just like Commissioner Lanier said, it's not my decision to make, but I will express my disappointment that this is the place where this conversation is. I wish that we would be in a different place.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Isasi?
Thank you, Mayor. Our meeting last time, we had a couple people weren't here, and so I do want to just, what Mr. Olmsted said, just thank you, Commissioner Lanier and Commissioner Repper. I don't think that I could say thank you enough to either one of you. I'm really sad that I'm not going to be able to serve with both of you and my colleague, Commissioner Jones, next year. So I want to get that out right now. Many have said tonight, public service. Yeah, the salary we get to serve on here, I know that all of us up here are doing it because we really do want to improve and support and make Grand Rapids a great place. I want to clarify a couple of things. One, I think there was a news story today that we were going to be voting on something today. I'm going to go back to misinformation that kind of happens. Yes, we have received petitions and communications. Some of us have had meetings, but there wasn't an action item on here. And so I think we need to clarify some of that sometimes. At this point, even asking to take action, there's a whole process to me for how we would move forward with the ordinance. And we've talked about that when other people have come for issues. And so I want to stay really clear on that, because I guess Commissioner Lanier, with you leaving, maybe I'm going to be the process person now. I'm going to be the sergeant at arms. But I think that's important, because I think that's how you get equitable solutions, is treating everything that might come forward the same. So I want to highlight that. So I think it was the WZZM 13 story. I had a number of people called me very much up in arms. What's going on? I didn't see this on the agenda. So then that hurts us, I think, from a city perspective, where we take pride in publishing the agenda and saying what is available. And so I know I had a number of calls from when we finished closed session up until probably 15 minutes before this meeting. So that's one thing. I am a firm believer that I try to respond to things that I can respond to. Again, this is not an agenda item about the ordinance that was presented. I'm not going to make any judgments about people's character or impact, because quite honestly, the city is very small. And I know many of you that came and talked about an ordinance that you would like. So I think that's also what doesn't get shown, is some of the humanity and some of the conversation. So I don't want to make any judgments of that, but I do want to think about how I make decisions. And when I started working at Cascade Engineering when I was 19, I didn't know anything about business. And the number one thing I learned from Fred Keller was that you must focus on the intent, or you must focus on your impact versus your intent. We can have lots and lots of good intent, and I think there's a lot of good intent in this entire room and people who are watching. The thing that hasn't been talked about is that what would that impact be on a potential ordinance? One, this body has a report from Housing Next that has been presented to us over the years that we've talked about. We've had members of our COC. We have not talked about the fact, I didn't hear anybody come forward about the data that shows homelessness and housing in Grand Rapids is extremely racialized. It's extremely racialized. More individuals that identify as Black, African American, Latinx, Latino are experiencing homelessness in our city. So as a policymaker, that's one thing I'm going to think about. Secondly, again, I don't want to go to the character pieces, because I know many people. I have respect for individuals. I want to see businesses thrive. So we may not want to criminalize homelessness, and I actually do believe that you don't want to criminalize homelessness, but we will. I think we will, because instead of dropping people off at the ER, which those are the challenges there, we're going to drop them off at jail. We've already had challenges with our jails, our other judicial systems. What is going to be the impact there? We heard from at least one provider about what they would like to see. Commissioner Lanier, Commissioner Repart, you both talked about what is available right now in our city. And so it feels like this is a collective issue, but we're not focusing on what are the collective solutions. Where are some things that we can do in terms of public restrooms, but also what does it look like on a day-to-day basis to be somebody who's experiencing homelessness? Today, we just approved the police union contract. I will say what I said earlier today, thank you to the city staff who participated in that work. Thank you to the police union for coming to the bargaining table. I would agree with many, it didn't have everything we wanted, but we just spent time trying to go forward with oversight and civilianization. And to me, an ordinance like this would pit police officers against community and would create relationships that we have been trying to work to undo. And lastly, because people have shared their personal stories, I feel like it's important that I finally share a personal story with all of you. On August 17th, my husband was brutally attacked in Grand Rapids. He had six stitches. He had broken bones in his face. And a lot of other trauma that we're still working through. In fact, I think we're still healing from this. And so when I think about that situation, quite honestly, and I think about what are the laws on the books, the police officers responded to that incident. He got immediate response from our police department, from our fire department, from our emergency services, from healthcare providers in this town. And the day after it happened, he said, "Why did this happen to me?" And I didn't have an answer for him. But I think the answer lies probably in the solution for this work, is that it's not one thing. It is not one ordinance. It is not one investment. It is not one city. And so this week I did go to the Econ Club and heard from some really great speakers. And that's probably a little bit who I am. Somebody who goes to Econ Club, somebody who might have been endorsed by Equity PAC and the Chamber of Commerce. But that's me. I've grown up in this city. And the thing that stuck with me is that if we do half-hearted strategies or actions, we're going to have half-hearted outcomes. And I think that this proposed ordinance, as presented, is a going to have half-hearted outcomes, and does not strike me as something that would be good policy, would not be laying in governmental excellence. And I would ask that we continue to do the work, the administrative work that has been done by a number of city staffers who are not here tonight, by the city manager leading that effort, by the work of our police department, our fire department, and other members. I think there is a true solution and much better outcomes for this entire city. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. City Clerk?
This morning I was able to give a update at Committee on the Whole, so on the 2022 November election, just what was going on there. I do want to relate to the public about the recount that's going to be going on. Outside of Michigan, money has been poured into the state of Michigan to recount certain precincts for Proposal 2 and certain precincts, 500 or so precincts for Proposal 3, which both of those overwhelmingly were passed. And the precincts that were chosen, even if every vote flipped from no to yes or yes to no, wouldn't change the outcome in the election. So there's going to be legislative work to do that. Even the two Republicans of the State Board of Canvassers basically called it, they had choice words for the recount. We do have, but there is a recount that we have to do due to a clerical error in the Board of Canvassers for the Grand Rapids Public Schools. Nothing that will change any of the outcomes that came out with the elections. It's just to fix some paperwork. So we're going to be doing a full recount of every single Grand Rapids precinct. We'll be starting that the county will be starting that next Monday. Obviously, we'll be involved to assist with that. We're going to do it at GRPS University. The county clerks put out information on it. It is open to the public if you want to see that our elections are fair, secure, and accurate. This is the time to do it. I think some of the talk was, and as you look at election results from top of the ticket down to city commission, county commissions, as we see votes going down, voters make choices, and we saw that as 70% of the voters in the first ward chose to vote in the city commission race. So that's going to be voter education as we move forward about the importance of voting both sides of the ballot, and that'll be up to the candidates, obviously, to make that distinction as well. But we'll go through this process. This is part of the legal process of doing recounts, and we'll be participating in it. But we will show that the ballots that were cast when we recount them will be fairly close or exact in almost every precinct. So, but it is an open to the public process. So follow County Clerk Lyons' Facebook and social medias to find more details.
Thank you. Thanks for clarifying that. City Attorney, City Manager.
Thank you, Mayor and Commissioners, for your
work today. I want to also thank the city staff. And I don't want to be redundant unnecessarily, but I do want to echo some of the sentiments earlier about public safety and the police contracts that are approved. There were a lot of advancement in terms of achieving some of the commission and community goals around oversight, civilianization, reform, even incentives to better engage with members of our bilingual community by providing incentive pay for officers to become more fluent in other language as we have a growing and diverse community, especially more immigrant and refugees. And as we said earlier, we do have a talent attraction issue in terms of making sure that we're able to attract and recruit the best in our workforce. So I'm very pleased with what was accomplished during this bargaining term, and thank both the city's bargaining team as well as the union for bargaining in good faith. Bargaining in good faith. Couple of other things. These discussions that we've had tonight are very difficult issues, as we've all acknowledged, and part of this public participation process is everyone's First Amendment right to petition the government for their grievances. And what I have heard, despite the polarity of thought, is that there is a common issue that everyone wants to see improve, despite perhaps the approach. And I think our intent, in terms of the city's commission intent, when we look towards our values of being accountable and having equity and good government, what we want to do, what I want to do as city manager, is to make sure that we evaluate every public policy issue and looking at both the intended and unintended consequences. And as I discuss this with my staff, there is no intent to criminalize anyone for being poor, for being unhoused. And we want to ensure that whatever we do, we have the same unintended impact as well. So what not hearing, and it's what I've heard and what I didn't hear from this commission, I didn't hear overwhelming support for moving forward with haste with an ordinance, unless someone's going to correct me. But what I did hear is the urgency to make sure we continue to address this important public policy issue that we have been doing. This is not the first time that we've had this conversation. This is the first time we've had this conversation with, from my perspective, with this balance of a discussion from different perspectives. And so there is, we're in the period now where we have back-to-back meetings, this meeting this week and one next week, and it doesn't allow for a lot of time of staff recoil. But what we will do is take an opportunity, I believe, to at least continue, Mayor, if you're comfortable with some of the discussion at the Public Safety Committee around some of these very important issues. I also want to, and that Public Safety Committee is scheduled, will be scheduled for next Tuesday afternoon at 3 o'clock. I also want to thank partners at the Urban League today for the contract that was approved that will allow us to collaborate with them to improve business environment for African American businesses as they partner with the Michigan Black Expo and the African American Task Force. I think that was good work. I've also was listening to some of the comments around the very unfortunate incident last week with the officer involved shooting and the reported suicide. And that was a very tragic event in many ways. It was tragic that someone was shooting at officers. It was tragic that children had to witness a violent episode. It was tragic that someone's life was taken. And while I was in the meeting, I wanted to make sure I followed up with Superintendent and GRPS to make sure that those mental health resources that were spoken of were offered to the students. And they assured me that that was the case, but we will continue to follow up based on what we heard tonight to make sure that we try to do what we can to partner with our community in reducing the trauma that's in our environment. And lastly, in terms of downtown restrooms, I think we're really good to hold ourselves accountable, but I do want to remind this dais and this community that years ago, we're now talking about adding a second and third restroom for downtown, where a few years ago we didn't have any. We were talking about adding one. And so the work right now is commencing at Hartside to make sure that the facility is open more regularly throughout the winter months. And we have been discussing about having additional facilities available. So that work is ongoing. And those are some of the holistic solutions that we will talk about in terms of supportive services. But there is also an expectation that when violent criminal acts occur, first of all, we want to make sure that we prevent them. But if they're occurring, we need to be able to stop them, or at least hold those persons accountable. So that's the balance that we have to have as a city, as an organization, and I think we can find that. What I've heard tonight is we have to find a way to do things better, and it may not be exactly what either side wants altogether, but we have to find a way to do something. So I am, and my staff continues to be committed to that, and I'm looking forward to continuing that at the Public Safety Committee next week.
Thank you, City Manager, and thank you for adding some clarification around some of the points tonight. So I'll add just a few things. One, I too want to take this opportunity to thank our entire bargaining team. I'm grateful we were able to come to a voluntary agreement with our Police Officers Association. It was a lot of work, and I appreciate people's comments tonight. But as some of my colleagues said, it's a negotiation process. And this contract includes a number of the priorities that we've heard from the community and a number of priorities of this elected body. And so I want to thank everyone who really spent a lot of time and energy to get us to a place where we have a voluntary agreement, and I was glad to vote on that today. And then I want to thank everyone who came out. I've had conversations, I've heard from a lot of folks in the community, and Commissioner Moody, I agree. I've heard from individuals in our neighborhoods as well when there have been challenges, especially with individuals experiencing homelessness, where individuals feel like there's a lack of response, and it is complicated. And I think all of my colleagues spoke to that really beautifully, and many of you already know this, right? It takes all of us to come up with solutions, and many of us have been working on these issues for a very long time, sometimes in a very structured way. I serve on the Housing Kemp Board. I was active with Housing Stability Alliance. We work with the county. I'm very hopeful that we're going to have the Crisis Stabilization Unit open next year. That's a huge gap in our community that we've talked about for a decade that will help be one of the solutions, but it's not the only solution. We know this is a complex issue, and it takes a complex response, and it takes a very collective response of all of us working together. And there needs to be a response when there's, as the city manager said, behavior that is clearly illegal. And we need to talk about that as well. So I'm going back to Commissioner Isasi. I too think about process, and I'm thinking about the process and path forward, and how we bring and make sure we bring people to the table to work through some solutions. I do support it being on the agenda at Public Safety next week. There are ordinances already that exist in our city. I'm willing to take a look at current ordinances. I'm willing to take a look at where are the gaps, where do we need clarifying language, where do we need, to better respond, and then to make sure that we have a plan to do that. But we also need to couple that with what are the gaps in our community, and how do we make sure that we are filling those gaps? Some of them will fall on the city. Whether we need to expand our homeless outreach team, what we need to do around making sure people have a safe and warm place to go during the day, having access to more public restrooms. But that's not the only solution. Ultimately, how we end homelessness is people need access to housing and stable housing. And so I'm committed to continuing to work with many of you in this room who've been working on this issue for decades and having additional conversations. And in addition to this item being on our agenda for public safety next week, I would like our city attorney's office, anytime we have something related to ordinances or anything legal, they really need to be at the table. And so I'm going to ask our city attorney, and I'll follow up with both the city attorney and manager tomorrow, to have her team start working on some of the concerns that were brought to our attention tonight, looking at what we currently have already on the books, and then also providing information about areas where we need potentially some clarifying or stronger language. So not to add more on your plate, but that's the work that we do. So thank you for taking that on and following up. And then we're happy to have additional conversations after this. City
Point of order, Mayor. Sorry to interrupt, but I just want to Commissioner Isasi's point earlier, I want to make sure we're clear about what it means if it's on the agenda for public safety.
thank
We
you.
know what that means, but someone could interpret that that it'll be up for consideration. I want to make sure that that's clear, if you don't mind.
Yes, thank you for folks who aren't familiar with public safety. I'll ask that it's added to the agenda so that we can have a conversation and both the city attorney and a discussion. And hopefully Chief Windstrom can speak to some of the concerns they heard tonight, as well as what we already have available to respond to some of the concerns, and then how we better work with the community when there is an issue. How do we respond more quickly? And we can follow up with that and make sure that that's really clear as well when we post the agenda.
But to clarify it on process, just to be clear, so it's going to committee. The committee can evaluate issues, and the committee can develop recommendations that will go forward to the entire committee of the whole for
Yes.
further consideration.
Yeah, and that would be a future meeting, so it wouldn't happen immediately at that meeting. But public safety does include 3 sitting commissioners, and so they can make a recommendation that something move forward for the next meeting or a follow-up meeting after that. Anything else, City Manager? Nope. Okay.
Thank you for clarifying.
Yeah, thank you. And with that, we're adjourned.